In the golden age of American vocal music, many voices soared, but few were as consistently reliable, heartfelt, and enduring as that of Fred Milano. His name may not have led marquees, yet his voice helped define a generation's soundtrack. A Bronx native and lifelong harmonizer, Milano's work in Dion and The Belmonts, and later with The Belmonts alone, reflected the unity, melody, and brotherhood born on city sidewalks and echoed in record grooves that traveled far beyond New York's boroughs. Fred Milano was born on August 22, 1939, in the Bronx, New York City, into a working-class Italian-American household where music was part of everyday life. Family gatherings often included impromptu performances. He learned to sing not in a classroom but in a living room, surrounded by relatives who passed down a love for melody as naturally as bread and stories. He was raised in the Belmont section of the Bronx, where his lifelong connection to harmony began. The streets were alive with rhythm, be it from radios blaring doo-wop, jazz, or Italian arias. Children sang on stoops and corners, and teens formed vocal groups as easily as others joined ball teams. Milano attended Theodore Roosevelt High School, where music provided a reprieve from the rough-and-tumble world outside. But his education in harmony was always more grassroots. Alongside neighborhood friends Carlo Mastrangelo and Angelo D'Aleo, he started blending voices in stairwells, alleyways, and hallways, where acoustics and ambition collided in the most magical ways. By the late 1950s, Milano and his friends were forming what would become one of the era's most recognizable quartets. They met Dion DiMucci, a local kid with swagger and a voice that cut through noise like a siren. Dion was a natural frontman, but it was Fred, Carlo, and Angelo who gave depth and shape to the sound. Taking their name from their neighborhood, the Belmonts quickly developed a reputation for tight harmonies and street-smart charisma. Their early rehearsals were organic. No producers, no formal training, just passion, and the kind of group intuition that can't be taught. Their first recording together, I Wonder Why, released in 1958, began with an odd, bouncing cadence that caught listeners off guard. It climbed the charts and led to national exposure. Fred's role in the group was subtle, but crucial. His tenor wove threads between lead and bass, gluing the vocal structure together with precision. With No One Knows, Don't Pity Me, and the massive A Teenager in Love, Fred's harmonies added emotional shading beneath Dion's more dramatic leads. The Belmonts weren't background singers, they were the frame holding the picture in place. A Teenager in Love, written by Doc Pomus and Mort Schumann, became an anthem for the heartbroken youth of America. Its success pushed the group into high gear. They toured relentlessly, appearing on American Bandstand and sharing stages with the likes of Buddy Holly and the Big Bopper. Fred Milano, always modest and grounded, managed to maintain his focus amid the whirlwind. While others might have been swept up in the chaos of stardom, he remained anchored by his Bronx upbringing and a quiet sense of loyalty. In early 1959, the Belmonts joined the Winter Dance Party Tour alongside Buddy Holly, Richie Valens, and J.P. Richardson. After a punishing schedule and brutal Midwest weather, Holly opted to charter a private plane. Dion was offered a seat, but declined due to cost. The plane crashed, killing everyone on board. Though Fred and the others were not directly involved in the decision, the event shook the tour and the group. For Fred, who had grown close to other performers, the tragedy underscored the fragility of the music life they had embraced. Shortly after, creative and personal rifts began pulling the group in separate directions. Dion, increasingly drawn to a solo career, broke away in 1960. While the spotlight moved with Dion, Fred and the remaining Belmonts refused to disband. Milano, Mastrangelo, and D'Aleo regrouped with new energy. They released Tell Me Why in 1961, a slick, radio-ready hit that reminded listeners the Belmonts were still a force. Fred's vocals remained confident, polished, and integral to the group's success. They followed with Come On Little Angel, another chart entry, and continued to release records throughout the early 1960s. Fred often handled group logistics, worked on arrangements, and became a reliable backbone for touring and recording. His personality, steady, thoughtful, sincere, was a calming force amid the often volatile world of popular music. Fred's contributions extended beyond singing. He had a sharp ear for arranging harmonies, often reworking vocal lines to maximize emotional clarity. He took pride in crafting performances that held up night after night. As doo-wop faded from the charts in favor of British invasion acts, Fred and the Belmonts found new life in the oldie circuit. They were welcomed at revival shows, on nostalgic television specials, and even at Madison Square Garden in 1972, where they reunited with Dion for a landmark concert captured on the Reunion, Live at Madison Square Garden album. Despite occasional disagreements with Dion over the years, Fred maintained a dignified respect for their shared history. He never allowed bitterness to define his public comments. To him, the music came first. Fred was never one for tabloid exposure or public spectacle. He married, raised a family, and lived quietly in the New York area. He was known for his generosity, humility, and tireless work ethic. Even as the group's fame plateaued, he continued to rehearse, perform, and record with the same intensity he'd shown as a teenager on Bronx sidewalks. Friends describe Fred as a deeply spiritual man, loyal to his Catholic faith, and unwavering in his support of family and community. He volunteered time with charities, gave private music lessons, and mentored young musicians who admired his skill and discipline. He never lost touch with his roots. Even after decades in show business, Fred could be seen strolling through old neighborhoods, reminiscing with locals who remembered when he used to sing under the elevated train tracks. As the years passed, Fred continued to perform with the Belmonts and other groups, often sharing stages with old friends from the doo-wop era. He recorded new material, including reimaginings of earlier hits and Christmas songs, and frequently participated in oldies festivals across the U.S. He faced health challenges later in life. Diagnosed with lung cancer, Fred continued to sing and meet fans for as long as he could, even as treatments took their toll. He remained gracious, warm, and present, never allowing illness to rob him of his identity. He passed away on January 1, 2012, at the age of 72. The news hit hard for those in the vocal harmony community. Tributes poured in from artists, producers, DJs, and fans, all of whom spoke of a man who brought quiet integrity and unwavering artistry to every stage he ever stepped on. Fred Milano may not have sought glory, but he achieved something more lasting: trust. Audiences knew his voice. They trusted its sincerity, its craftsmanship, its warmth. He didn't chase trends or attention. He simply sang with conviction. His harmony work helped shape the vocal group tradition in American music. From I Wonder Why to Dottie, Fred's singing captured not just melody, but emotion, shading each chord with feeling, lending strength without overpowering. He never abandoned the art form that gave him a voice. When many peers retired or faded, Fred doubled down, touring, recording, and teaching until his final years. His devotion to the music, his bandmates, and his fans remained unwavering. He helped carry a Bronx-born sound across the globe. Through the crackle of old vinyl or the sweet glide of digital remasters, Fred's tenor lives on. Fred Milano didn't seek the limelight, but he earned something more lasting: respect. His artistry was subtle but profound. He walked through fame without changing pace, stayed loyal when others strayed, and found joy in perfecting every harmony line he touched. In the long story of American vocal music, his contributions cannot be ignored. While others shouted to be heard, Fred let the music do the talking. And the music remembers